Our lives begin to end the moment that we refuse to take a stand about the things that are right. Our lives begin to end the moment that we refuse to take a stand about that which is just. Our lives begin to end the moment we refuse to take a stand about that which is true. Our lives begin to end the moment that we remain silent about the things that matter. The late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke those words in his speech on pulpit on March 8, 1965, in Selma, Alabama. The Deep South was rooted in tension, in turmoil, and in trouble. Black folks had come to a point where they refused to be treated unjustly. They were frustrated at the fact that they were considered to be only 3/5 of a person. So now, today in October 2014, almost 50 years later, I would argue that many things, unfortunately, have not changed. So today, friends, Meliorians, faculty, staff, parents, other distinguished guests and Rochesterian, I beseech you to not only lend me your ears, but also your heart and your intellect. I come to bury racism today and not to praise it. The bias, the discrimination and prejudice that men do lives after them. It's oft interred in their bones. But some may argue that experiences, events, and happenings, they're not racism. They're just a mere pigment of the imagination. So just so contextually we ensure that we are coming from the same paradigm, let's define racism. Simply put, racism is bias and prejudice and discrimination based on the fact that there is a belief that there are biological differences amongst people. Racism, also defined, is about the fact that there are social actions and beliefs and even political systems that rank that one particular race is superior and that another is inferior. Racism also purports that certain races deserve and should and must be treated differently. Now, one kind of caveat within that definition is whether we should include unintentional acts of racism. Stereotypes, the way that people are portrayed in the media, historical or institutional racism, and certainly the socio-political social stratification that can occur. So as I think about this topic, sometimes memories sneak out of my eye and slowly roll down my face. So ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I submit to you exhibit number 1. February 14th, 1940, Mr. Lloyd Mills from Chase City, Virginia, was completing his rounds through the town. He was a businessman, so I imagine that he was settling debt, that he was visiting with town folk, and that he was buying groceries for his 5 girls, his 5 boys, and his wife of 16 years. 16 years, 10 children, yes. So there was one issue. Mr. Mills was very outspoken about the plight of Black people during that time. And although he was warned on numerous occasions to refrain from his discourse about unfair treatment, he continued to persist. And so, as the day turned into afternoon, and afternoon turned into late afternoon, and late afternoon turned into evening, his bride of 16 years began to get worried. He was coming home much later than he should have. So finally, when the horse came in and she heard the whinny of the horse, she ran out to see her husband. But unfortunately, much to her dismay and much to her horror, my grandfather was only a remnant of what he was when he left that morning. The death report noted that my grandfather was killed on accident, that because of the horrific weather that day, the thunder and lightning spooked the horse. My grandfather fell off the horse, but his leg remained in the stirrup, and he was dragged to death. But upon further inspection by my grandmother, the rope burns around his neck, and the deep furrows in his neck indicated that there was foul play at hand. My grandfather was lynched. So, is that an act of racism, or is it just a mere pigment of my grandmother's imagination? Let's fast forward 30 years, 29 to be exact, and to quote the poet and the lyricist and the scholar, Sir Ice Cube, May 15th, 1969, it was a good day. Yours truly was born. But there was an excitement in the hospital located in Concord, Massachusetts, because a baby who looked like me had never been born in that hospital. I'm Black. And so there was excitement and there was anticipation, some mystery. What was going to happen? What was the baby going to act like? What will he or she be like? So when I screamed and made my formal entrance into the world, all of the medical testing was done, I was wrapped and I was placed in the hospital nursery. My mom, who endured 38 hours of labor, was finally able to rest that evening. But the nurse had a nagging question she had to ask because she saw my mom and she saw my dad. And so she peeked into the room and quietly yet persistently she walked in and she said, Mrs. Myers, I'm sorry to wake you, but I have just one question for you. When's the baby going to turn black? So, racism or just a mere pigment of my mother's imagination? 1987, I'm a freshman here at the University of Rochester. I am ready to tackle the world. I'm excited about making and taking that next step in my journey. I go down to the basement in Susan B. Anthony and I go do my laundry because 1 o'clock in the morning is the only time that you can get a free washer and a dryer around here. So I go down and I see two of my dorm mates in the hallway outside of the laundry room, and they're fervently scratching something into the vending machine. I think that's odd, but I don't really pay attention until they see me and they scatter. So I'm nosy. I want to know what's going on. I walk up to the vending machine, and they had autographed it with the following 4 letters: N-I-G-G. So I probably don't have to say what the next 2 letters were probably going to be before they were interrupted. That word is hateful, it's harmful, and it's hurtful. Racism, or just a mere pigment of my own imagination? Think about Trayvon Martin in Sanford, Florida, and what his family endured. Think about Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and even think in our own backyard here in Rochester, the threats and the hate and the discrimination that our own Mayor Lovely Warren, a former student of mine, has to endure every day. Her safety is threatened constantly. Acts of racism, or just a mere pigment of each of our individual and collective racism? Now, I could tell you countless stories that I've experienced, my family, my friends, or other people who have Black or brown skin. And you might look at me today and think, she's an angry Black woman with a chip on her shoulder and has something to prove. But I stand before you today as the Chief Executive Officer of a public school district. I've testified before the United States Congress and asked for $75 million, of which 65 was funded. I have a doctorate, 2 master's degrees and a bachelor's. 2 of my degrees come from the University of Rochester. And when I walk into a business establishment and I go to buy something, this is what people see. They question me, they follow me, and they certainly judge me by the color of my skin rather than the content of my character. Racism, or just a mere pigment of my imagination. Sam Cooke, many, many years ago, wrote the following words. I was born by the river in a little tent, and just like the river I've been running. It's been a long, long way coming, but a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it is. So if we are to actualize those words, we must be bold enough, we must be courageous enough, and we must be strong enough to leave the psychological, the emotional, the physical, the environmental, and even spiritual comfort zone that we tend to reside in. We must do something. Now, I'm a realist. I know that I can't do everything, but I can certainly do something, and I refuse to let the fact that there are things that I can't do interfere with the things that I can do. So, distinguished jury, I leave you with one final question. Will you break your silence? And what will you do?